Right, hello there, welcome back. So this is part 2 of Super Lizard Begins. Hopefully you've enjoyed part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, you might want to check out part 1 first to know where we're at. So at the moment we've got to the point where Ropo, a lizard, a fat-tailed gecko, was in a toxic waste dump, and he'd just grown really big, and someone was scared. And he didn't really know why. So we shall carry on from there. The next stage of any superhero story is the tendency for the hero to wander. Dazed and confused, they tend to meander home for the aforementioned shower. As stated earlier, this story is too short for the shower self-realisation bit, thus Ropo simply had a wander into town. It is always a concern of mine that small towns are placed so close to toxic waste dumps in both superhero and horror movies. But I would hate to be the one that did not follow this, despite there being no toxic dumps near villages in Yorkshire. Just think of it being there for storytelling purposes. If you have a problem with this, then just think we are in an alternate dimension or something. To be honest, I would be more concerned that you're going with a random African lizard in a toxic dump being turned into a humanoid 10-foot superhero. But your decisions on where to question this tale are up to you. Right, where were we? Oh yes. Ropo left the toxic dump. On exiting the area, he met two men in bright orange jackets, the sort that work at rubbish dumps but give facial expressions that say, "I'd rather be down the pub." Animals seem to have two responses when faced with danger: the flight or fight situation. Both were evident here. One man ran, the other acted the hero. It was clear he had watched too many superhero films when he shouted, "Halt, foul beast!" Ropo just looked at him. It was in that instance he noted his next superpower, as a pair of shoes, in classic comic fashion, smoked due to the sudden disappearance of a body. Laser beams had shot from his eyes and vaporised the poor man. Ropo had made a mental note not to do that again. He presumed it must be a defence reflex, and the best option was to avoid eye contact with anyone. He thus ambled down the road with eyes only half open and a hand covering the side of his face. This effectively blocked out the road, meaning Ropo's only knowledge of what was happening was the screeching of car tyres as people panicked, or the sound of engines as cars sped up to get out of there as quickly as possible. Soon enough he reached the town. Missing the name on the sign by walking into a wall, having not realised the road had stopped because he still had his hand up to his face. As he sat on the cold stone floor with his big-boned tail squashed underneath him, he looked up and read the sign. He found this surprisingly easy despite being a lizard and therefore not understanding English and never having needed to or being able to read in his life. The sign read, "Walkworth General Stores." Animals are no different to humans when they see a general store. They have the immediate need for one of three things: a chocolate bar, a bag of crisps, or a drink. After a few seconds' thought, Ropo decided on the crisps. Little did he know the biggest decision of his life was about to happen. Cheese and onion or salt and vinegar? Well, he is a lizard. Ropo got up and walked through the door. A little bell rang. He smiled to himself. Looking back on the situation later, Ropo decided that walking into the shop was not the wisest of things to do. He quickly realised that humans tended to react badly to a 10-foot lizard disturbing them whilst they were looking for bread and milk. Within a second, Ropo's hands were on the sides of his head once more. Those humans were making that high-pitched sound again. He hoped that they all decided to have a nice lay down, like the other man who was screeching. He took a few steps forward and saw an old lady who was shaking. He considered what to do. A hug. For some reason, his brain told him that when humans were feeling down, you simply placed your arms around them and said things like, there, everything's okay. To be fair to the old lady, she was not that nimble, and Ropo really should have been watching the handbag as it swung into his face. He did not notice the old lady amble out of the shop as he rubbed his poor nose either. He did, however, turn around to see that everyone had left pretty sharpish. Must be a sale on down the road. Whatever a sale is, thought Ropo to himself. Then an opportunity invited itself into his brain. With no one around, the crisps would surely be free. Ropo could hear the slow whimpering of the cashier hiding behind the till, but he was pretty much out of view. Plus, thought Ropo, I'm a lizard. It's not as if I carry money with me, and I was never very good at understanding economics. As he made his way to the crisps, there was a loud crash. He turned instinctively, lasers fired from his eyes, and cooked all the pre-packed sausage rolls. Were it not for the melting plastic on top of each pastry-covered sausage, this laser skill would have been useful to Ropo. There was, however, no one there, just his tail lying across the cereal shelf, with cornflakes covering the floor and lower shelving. Damn those big bones, Ropo thought to himself. He turned back to the selection of crisps. Now he could have normal, fat-free, ridged, or those ones in a tube. Maybe fat-free would be best. He had put a lot of weight on that day. Oh no, he thought to himself. Is it green or blue for salt and vinegar in fat-free crisps? These marketing executives who change the colour of crisps willy-nilly just confuse me. He picked the green packet. After all, it went better with his skin, and headed for the door. So we'll leave it there. So that's part 2 of Super Lizard Begins, and we will have at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future, part 3. I hope you're enjoying it so far and that it's vaguely humorous, even if it's not really funny. And yeah, I will see you later.